Okay, women who are dating men who are incarcerated. You may have met him through a pen pal club. You may have just met him through the prison ministry at your church. You might have found him online on one of those inmates for dates or whatever websites. I want you to reevaluate and reassess the situation. If God spoke to you and told you to marry an inmate, I don't argue when people say God told them something. But for those of you who are not sure, you're just in love because he's cute and he's fine and he's all that. He doesn't have a regular job. He's not out in society. So he has all day to work on those muscles. And there are certain things that you're going to have to consider. Usually, if he met you on a dating site, you're not the only profile and you're not the only candidate. If he's attractive, you're not the only person that he is interested in. I strongly suggest or encourage you to do some research on inmates who date. A lot of them are predators from inside the prison walls. They need somebody to keep money on their books. They need somebody to handle business, communicate with lawyers, maintain communication with their family on their behalf. They need somebody to give them encouragement and hope, sex pictures and stuff like that. A lot of those inmates, there are no drawers in prison. There's no private space for him to keep those sexy pictures of you that you're sending him. Everybody in prison that's in his cell or whatever is going to see that stuff. The next thing is a lot of them have drug addictions, and then when they get out, because it was not authentic. Not everyone. I would say 1 out of every 10,000 works. Now, I just pulled that number out the crack of my butt. I don't know the statistics on it. Maybe I will do the research. But I just want to tell you, out of all the ones that I've dealt with maybe 40 cases, and not one of them turned out to be authentic, and not one of the guys that met the woman while they were incarcerated did right by her when they got out. Either they cheated right away, or they ghosted him right away, or she found out that he was down low, or he was homosexual, or he used her for money and got on his feet and moved on. Some of them dealt with their family members. Some of them were already married and just used her for the resources. So if you have money and things like that, consider the fact that you may be getting targeted. Am I saying all inmates do this? No. But am I saying a very high percentage of them do? Yes. There's a show on TV called Love After Lockup. That's something I encourage you to watch and pay attention to what they go through. That's all I have to say about it.
Prison wives. Ain't it crazy how every man that get incarcerated, all of a sudden he looking for love and he want to get married and have kids and a family and all this old extra shit. He didn't want no parts of that shit when he was free. He wasn't thinking about marrying you. I bet you be getting them letters. Yeah, baby, I can't wait to give you massages and kiss all over your body and tell you how much I need you and want you in my life. And you everything I ever hoped and dreamed and wished for. He didn't hope and dream and wish for none of that shit when he was free. He had a key, or he popped in and out when he wanted to. Or you never even knew him to begin with before he went in that motherfucker. Y'all need to take heed. Y'all don't understand that every man in prison wants to get married and wants a family and want to be up under you and love you and show you affection and you everything he ever needed and more. God damn, how fucking crazy can you fucking be, man?
Y'all, I'm not on here judging nobody, but the girls on here that's posting that they met these mans in jail and they are marrying these incarcerated men that they ain't never met a day in their life. More power to them, more power to y'all. I'm not throwing no shade. I'm not being mad. I ain't being jealous. I'm not none of that, okay? But I know life is about taking risks, but y'all taking a whole nother different type of risk because, baby, everybody don't have the same story where a guy get out of jail, he act like he don't know you, he don't want to be with you, he gonna do him, he gonna be with somebody else that never was there from and never was on him down. But that's another different type of trust right there. You don't even know if this man stink, breath, hooping, hollering. You don't know nothing. Like, you don't know nothing about this man. You just getting married to him. And if you're not up in New York, California, Washington, D.C., or Connecticut, you're not having no conjugal visits. So What is y'all getting married to the people that have life and all these years?
A brief story about me getting married in prison. Shout out to my wife. We're getting ready to celebrate 5 years. Man. So, we were not going to get married while I was incarcerated, and I'll talk about this in my story. If you haven't checked out how I got 144 years, please check out the playlist on the top of my page. But essentially, we weren't going to get married. We were going to wait until I got home, but she lived in Georgia. I was doing my time in Virginia, and honestly, we thought that it would be a better idea for me to come straight to Georgia. We thought that I could do that without us being married. The counselor gave us some bad information. How ironic. And essentially found out just months prior to my release that in order for me to go down to Atlanta with my girl, or my fiance at the time, we had to be married. So we decided strategically this was the right thing to do because we were working on being together forever anyway, so let's get married. Now, I will tell you, being married in prison, from my perspective, it was hard. It was very difficult because I wanted to appreciate that moment and celebrate that moment. But even more so, it was very difficult for me because I knew that, one, my wife had chosen to marry me in a prison visitation room, inside of a prison cell, essentially. When your wife love you that much to not just visit you, but to marry you inside that hellhole, man, that's a different level of love that should be respected. And I had to learn that. I want to be clear, and I'll talk more about that in my content as I talk about my story. But just the process of her going through that's one thing. The other thing is knowing that there would be no honeymoon. That I couldn't join her or even drive her away from that place. Because some people get married at the Justice's Peace, come home, eat dinner, and call it a day. I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even hold her at night on what was supposed to be the happiest day, or at least one of the happiest days of her life. I felt inadequate in the moment, but at the same time, I loved her, and I wanted us to be together. And I was willing to do whatever it took in order to make sure that we took that necessary step to make it happen. And we did that. Now, what I want to tell you that crazy happened, or something that crazy happened, is I almost got locked up before we got married to 2-3 days prior. And essentially, and I know it has to be, but maybe I'm tripping. So I was the inmate advisor in the institution, which essentially means I was like defending people whenever they call institutional charges, which is a serious thing because if you don't beat those charges, guys can lose visitation, guys can lose their free time, their ability to talk on the phone to their loved ones, whatever. It's serious. So when you're somebody that knows the rules and the institutional procedure, etc., you can challenge those things. And they didn't like me. Oh, man, because I had become a beast in there with that paperwork. So I was beating people's cases. And sure enough, they tried to transfer me 3 days before my wife and I were scheduled to get married on this institution in camp. We were supposed to get married on a Sunday. They called me Thursday and said, hey, we got to pack you up. I said, no, you're not going to pack me up. Because it was already, in order for us to be married, we had to get it approved by the warden, council, a bunch of people. She had to get a license. She had to get a flight to move up here. There was so many things that she had to do in order to make this day come true. And they knew it. And instead of them using common sense and saying on the spot, oh, we can't transfer this guy, he's slated to get married on Sunday, they just tried to let it roll on through and call me in there like I was going to go for it. And my wife was going to be okay with canceling the flight, us not getting married, and license and all that stuff just being null and void. No, not today. At this point in my bid, I was generally a calm, cool, collective guy. But I had this thing that I used to live by when I was doing my time. And it went like this. You can do what you want to do to me. And I expected to get drugged. You understand what I'm saying? I expected the COs to not like me because of the way I moved in there, the warden, etc. Certain extent. But when you start doing things that's impacting my family, the people I love, we got an issue. We got an issue. I don't like this. And you're trying to ruin me and my future wife's day. And I told them, I said, look, when they called me, I said, I'm not going nowhere. I'm getting married Sunday, and if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Not only did I tell that to the counselor, I then walked out the counselor's office, and I was on a small institution, by the way, Camp 17, 2 dorms in the middle of country, Virginia. I don't know where it's at. I'm not saying Virginia's country, but a country part of Virginia. And when I left up there, I walked up the stairs, because it's like a downstairs, upstairs for that camp. I started to cuss out every officer, lieutenant, ward, everybody I seen. I was just going crazy. And I told them, I said, yo, y'all are going to have to make a movie or something. We going to make a movie because I'm not going for it. You're not doing this to me, man. And I remember I went and got on the phone downstairs. I walked back downstairs after I cussed everybody out, and I called my girl, my wife, my fiance at the time. I'm like, babe, I think I'm about to get locked up because they said they were going to transfer me. They trying to ruin our day. And as I'm talking to her, I got my foot on the chair, and I got my boots laced, and there's like 8 COs circling me, like in a half moon. And luckily, one of the guards came out. No, it was my fault. Counselor came out and was like, let me just talk to him. And me and her weren't even that cool at the time. So kudos to her for seeing that I was a good dude and that was a messed up situation. Because she talked to me, lo and behold, they got it straight. After I freaking went red and almost flipped the switch. I did apologize to everybody after that. They did allow us to get married on Sunday, you know what I'm saying? But I was transferred that the next business day smoking. They got me up out of there because I trust me. They didn't even write me a charge too. So shout out to them because I might be one of the only ones ever that went out and cussed the whole camp out, which, you know, is one of my stories. But it is what it is, man. So yeah, those are my thoughts on marriage. Don't get locked up so you don't have to get married in visitation room. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully you got something from this story.
Y'all, if you got a man in jail, stay with him. Stay with him. Do not leave your man in jail for somebody that's out here. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because you know why? These niggas out here, please. That's like you picking a man off the clearance rack. Don't do it. They ain't worth a Stay with your man in jail, especially if he treats you nice.